So we'll go ahead and get started um, in the midst of our new world, our new season. Let me. All right. So a couple of things we'll talk about is the wellness check, some concerns and issues. I'll highlight on the FAQ that hopefully will come out soon, and we'll talk about some of that. And if I get an opportunity, I'll kind of show you a couple of things from it, and then kind of give you the highlight on that. And then we'll talk about progress monitoring. So, um, just kind of for our update and kind of following our leadership within the agency, our DT Tuesdays will be changing a little bit. We will be looking at how we're doing things at home with at home learning, as I'm calling it at this point in time, while we're in this closure, because I know we're at various stages. Some of you are definitely closed. Some of you are indefinitely closed. Some of you are waiting till May 4th. So it's just depending on, and some are, we may be closed into next year. So we're going to still look at progress monitoring and equitable services this time, but with the focus on how we're doing that at home and with our COVID-19 responses, and then looking at supporting our smaller rural schools next week, the next time we meet. And then the beginning of May, looking at the virtual TPSP fairs. I know some said they would like to do that and kind of get that rolling in a board and see how we want to approach that. By that time, we'll probably have a good feasible know where we are as a state and where we're going. And then finally, for our May 19th meeting, which was the last one scheduled, is actually looking at preparing for next year, as we've gone through at least probably most of us, either a month, going to 3 weeks, almost to a month in closure. How do we get ready for next year? How do we get ready for summer trainings? What do we do as we move forward? So those are a couple of, that's how we will look at the rest of the year. And then just want to highlight again our COVID-19 guidance and information. So, we still have off the main page is the total links to those documents. And then you have instructional continuity and planning. We're going to talk about a couple of pieces from that in those phases. And I know some of you are probably looking and working through some of those. Then on our SPED and special pops. And then you have have the link for the advanced academics specifically for, I know that our AP and IB is part of your program services. Knowing that AP always puts out not always, but the last couple of weeks, they have put out their information on a Friday. So be looking for those updates from them as you go forth. Wanted to also highlight there is a new public campaign coming out through our public health resources so apart we stand, we are apart together, but we stand together also. So take a moment, look at these resources, share them out on your social media campaigns, share them with your students, share them with your parents, so that, we have to take our own responsibility for ourselves to make sure that we're clean, maintaining cleanliness, disinfecting, and then sharing so that eventually we can get back into the school systems and get into our school buildings and return to some sort of normalcy for this. But we're going to have a lot to say that we have learned from this as we move forward, and particularly how we provide services, how do we do instruction, how do we support our students, how do we support ourselves and our teachers. So this is my wellness check time. So y'all tell me how you're doing, what's going on. Anyone wants to share? Somebody out there.
I'll speak.
Yeah.
Hi, Melanie Harlan from Forney. I can say, like, it's nice, as John said, the commute is stellar. Uh, but man, I miss my kids, something fierce. And it's hard when I can hear from their parents and they're like, can you please give me something for my kid to do because they're driving me crazy? And I send them all that I can, but it's not the same, you know? Just miss my kids.
I got you. All right. Yes, Teresa, I feel you. We are working harder than ever before. Um, Anyone else wants to jump out and share what they're doing and how's it going? All right, Valerie. Oh, she's homeschooling today, so she's working and homeschooling. And then in the middle of the identification, and we will address some of that in a few also. So, okay, Omega, working hard. Do we want to? Okay, Bernie, yes. So much going on, and we're all working from home and or other designated places because we're doing time helping out. So I wanted to take a moment to see what are you doing out there as part of your services, a part of your, and then what are some of your challenges as you go forth, and so that I can at least help us better assist you in some of the things that we are developing as guidance, and what would you like to see happen, and what do you need more of? So anybody. We got a Google site for GT Kids with extension activities. And then they got an elementary focusing on enrichment. Is that Meredith? Is that a request or that's what you're doing? Some content. What we're doing. All right. That's what they're doing. All right. K4 extension ideas. Okay. We got a GT choice board and the virtual TPSB. Okay. Time accounting yesterday. Wow. Okay. More of links. Okay. Yeah. Choice menus. Okay. So if anyone would like to share some of those activities so that we can all work a little bit smarter and put those together. So they got a virtual TSP going up and some emotional supports. Yeah, that is some good information there. Thank. All right, we're going to, if you want to put your links into the box, into the chat. Thank you. We'll make, I'll make sure we get those in a centralized place that people can find those and to share and to use. Um, I was yesterday building out some other resources and writing things down, and I don't know where that notebook is this morning. So, but I'll have to find it or recreate. And so that was like this. That was my morning discombobulation. But as we go forth, we will build that out. And so we got Google Classroom going on. So as you know, with the instructional continuity, they build out four phases. And I really wanted to talk about a couple of those phases. And so right now, I know a lot of you have built out in your your program resources, either from what I've understand, putting out either online platform or information and also providing student packets for students who do not have their internet or technology resources. And then I've also heard that there is the challenge of putting it in plain language, parent language, so that all of our parents are to understand how to assist their children and not make it, for some you got the language barriers, and then others you have to bring, like this is what we're looking for. Then we also know that there is that challenge of we're just trying to get everybody something, but it's not the appropriate something for some of our students. So we need to look at and have those conversations with our especially with our campus teachers and how you're providing those supports, to look at if it's a second grader, maybe sending them to third grade back at home, or talking about that, or as you were having those challenges, looking at those enrichments so that these students can be academically challenged, or here's some books, here's some services, and I'll have some links to some of that in a little bit. But then let's look at how we're doing that, and then having these conversations with our parents during what is your at-home model, what does that look like, and then as we work through the system, I think this is a prime time to say, let's look at how our services rolls out and how do we build from here. Because I think we will learn a lot more about, and our parents will learn a lot more about their children and the struggles that they have in an education setting when they are not academically challenged. And so, and then how we can help them help us to provide better services for their kids as we move forward. So let's look at how can we do that, do that and do that efficiently and get them as, I think this is a prime time to get them as partners, because now they see your daily challenge, especially our teachers with our GT students. It's like, wow, because they're, most of them are used to just bring them home. You gotta, tutor or so on. But now it's like I'm 24/7 with this kid, working through all these stresses. So, what are your updates? And thinking about your updates, how you're communicating to your parents on those resources. And thank you for continually put your information out here. I will make sure that we get them uploaded into a centralized space. Considering 2 platforms, we're pretty much putting a lot out as a PDF, but then also maybe a sub web page, just so that it's all there. You just click and you can move forward. And then what are your work streams? How are you supporting your students and your teachers? And what are those social and emotional supports? And there's a lot going on. There's a lot going out as we look forward. And then how are you monitoring student growth and academic success, especially when I know school districts are going on a pass fail. It's just, you do it, some of you, some are just sending things home and not worrying about it. And we're working off of where we ended at spring break, or where we ended before school, before you ended your last day. So that, what are we doing to make sure we know what our success is and how we're looking at program services? Because when you think about some of the resources, you're doing so much on the fly, but they're quality work on the fly. How can you use that again in your next phase? How can you build up your next series? Because we are in the state of Texas, and the state of Texas typically has some either weather, with hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, some kind of natural disaster hits us at some point. So as we think about how can we support each other, what can we do? These are some resources that will build us and make us stronger as we look at, this is how we can support, and this is what we can have, and we have these platforms as we move forward. I'm not seeing too many questions in the chat, but I see a lot of resources, so thank you. And if you have to, so in progress monitoring, and as we look forward, and our goal is academic success, but also program service and how are we being successful as a program. And when I think of progress monitoring, I think we should always think of it as 2 different things, but they both reflect on each other. Is our student services and our program services. Because when we think about our student services, that's direct instructional impact on that student. But when we think about our program services, you also have to keep in mind, we are educating adults. So we're one of those programs that's we're educating students, we're educating adults at the same time. Either it's parents or it's also our community and our teachers. And what are we doing to ensure that our teachers have the best instructional support so that they can provide the best instruction to our students. So, and as we go forth, so looking at 29.22, 29, okay, my mind, 2.29 of the state plan, student progress and performance in response to gifted and talented services is periodically assessed using standards in the areas served and identified in the written plan. So that's your written plan, which you have defined your program services. And then those results are communicated to parents or guardians. And so it's right now, as we're looking at it in this COVID-19 world, how are you communicating to parents? And it might be, our communication might be limited to basically you have a packet available on the website. This is the guidance that we're providing on, this is what your students are doing to need to do in that guidance. So looking at, this is what we're providing, this is what the expectations are. It could be that simple at this point in time. But when we get back into our regular world, we're looking at how our students performing. Is it looking at their projects? Is it looking at a report card? It depends on your program services. We'll know everyone has done their program identification. So we'll start looking at how to reflect on, if you say you're doing differentiated instruction, what is your evidence base in there for students? And then how does that look for, how do you communicate that back out? So does a parent understand that if it's differentiated instruction in the classroom and this is your child's grades, it's not because of, it's a little bit different, it's more challenging, it's more rigorous. This is how they're looking. So I think we need to make sure we have that addressed as we move forward. Anyone who already has a progress, I think Holly shared one a couple of weeks ago, how they look at monitor students, but does anyone else have something out there, how they're looking at their students, how they're monitoring performance in progress? So at this point, so we got Jay Perry with weekly phone calls to check in on students. And so as we do that, I would just say, think about how are you logging that? You know, if they're making those weekly phone calls, how we're documenting these things. These are part of your services. This is part of how you're looking at students. I know Macy Lane out of Manor is doing a little YouTube morning inspiration for her students, just a hello. And so those things become a part of, this is how we're just checking in on our students, how we're making sure they're doing okay, and having those conversations. And so, and then at this point, looking at the development and delivery of curriculum for gifted and talented students is monitored regularly by trained administrators. And I know a lot of people had, what does this really mean kind of statement. And so basically that's going into a couple of things. You as your GT coordinators for your districts, you are the main ones who should be making sure that your curriculum is best for your GT students. Then also your campus administrators, this is why it's important that they have their GT training, and we, vamped up, so they will understand what curriculum they should be looking at, what should be happening in the classrooms, because they are also the ones who are monitoring our teachers. But then also, as we put this curriculum out, is it really being effective? Is it really building the program that we're looking for our high school student to walk away with that advanced product or performance? But then also, if a student is sitting in a third grade class, not performing well, and knowing that we need, and it's not because they can't do, it's because they're bored out of their mind, is it recognizable by our GT people, is not to say, We just need to hold them back or put them in-house, but really look at them and say, we need to accelerate this kid in this areas. And then when we say accelerate, they're open to the mindset of, okay, it might be just a subject area acceleration. It might need to be a grade level, or it might be a couple of things, or that teacher needs to do some more curriculum compacting or some more flexible pacing. So looking at how can we do that and how can we make that happen, and then looking at what is really going on in our district. So that's part of that, looking at all of our pieces of our curriculum, and then having a curriculum and knowing how your advancement in those areas are looking for your GT students. I know a lot of people, I'm going to throw it out there, are wondering, what are we doing with pre-AP now that pre-AP is going to be legalized by College Board? So what are you doing in your district to make it different? It's changing the name, but what are you doing in those services? And what are you doing in your AP classes that say this is a GT curriculum that is designed for a GT student? Because you have to remember, we look at depth and complexity, we look at differentiated instruction, and we build out. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Y'all know my philosophy. Okay. And then I added in also, we still have to look at our evaluation and our activities. So looking at what we're doing now, what is working, what is not working. We put out packets, we put out materials, we put out resources. Some of you realize some of the materials you need to put in another level of something else. You need to change the system, how you're putting it out, how you're communicating that. So looking at that annual evaluation, looking at, we're always have to remember how we're improving our services. How can we do a step better in our program services as we go forward? And then looking at all of that data and then sharing that data to our school boards, because you need to highlight what you're doing well and how well you're doing it, and get that buy-in, get that support for your program, and making sure that it's being fully highlighted. And you got to be your own salesman. So. And then then we're looking at the last one is our Equitable Services. And I added this one in because at this point we really are not as just a program, but just as a state, looking at how are we serving all of our students? How are we adapting? We have totally been in the adaptation mode in these last couple of months. How do we do that? How we're modifying our curriculum, how we're modifying our needs for our students to meet their needs, especially our exceptional, our highly gifted, our English learner, our economically disadvantaged. Are we providing a package that's really feasible? When someone brought it up in I've been on some ESC meetings. You got kids who do not have their crayons and colors anymore at home because they're at school. So what are we looking for, and how do we provide support to these students as we move forward, when pretty much they were used to having all of their properties in your facility and with your guidance. And so now that they're at home, what are we doing and how we're moving out from there? So any questions? No questions. And so Chris put out, does anyone have a parent survey of questions they would share? And then Lisa's asking the GT update requirement if we're out of school for the rest of the year. Okay, so those are a couple, and give me a minute and we'll address some of those in the parent survey.
Hey, Monica?
Yes.
Just to go along with that, this is Lisa. Just to go along with that, I was wondering, we have the 6-hour update modules from TEA, but I know we had to sign the waiver saying we wouldn't share any of those out or anything. I just wondered if there was any possibility or any thought about maybe putting some of those, getting them ready for Canvas so that we we could share them out with other service centers. Just throwing that out there. I wouldn't mind working on one of the modules if we decide to go that route that we could share out, but just thinking about that for future.
Okay. All right. We will talk about that. All right. So let me go here and then we'll talk about the FAQ and I'll get to that. So I just wanted to provide some other guidance from the TA COVID website under Special POPs, and most of it right now is under TELPAS, the homelessness, military connected, foster, English learner. I added 504 in the special ed and FERPA because I know a lot of you are still doing your virtual. You had some of those questions. So this is the guidance, recent guidance. This is the website was updated as of April 3rd. So while we're in this moment, there is a, let's see, where is it? So we have, and I'm gonna share this. Let's see. Can someone tell me what you're seeing on your screen? I'm seeing two different things. I got two screens running.
We're seeing
Okay.
part of your COVID-19
right.
FAQ.
Okay, so the FAQ is on hold for a moment, and it is on hold because of assessment. And so we'll just kind of run through this. Hopefully it will be posted soon, but we'll just kind of run through this, but that's our holdup. So right now, we still should be looking at program services, and I know a lot of you are doing that. Yes.
You said it's on hold for what? I'm sorry, it broke up right as you said what it was on hold for.
On the assessment piece. And when I get to that question, I'll kind of explain it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we just kind of read on who's responsible, what is your responsibility, and who is responsible for GT coordination, and then the providing of services. And so I know a lot of you are just still doing your enrichment activities, you're using TPSP or your other project learning opportunities, and you're differentiating whatever is being provided by your district. So those are some of your services out there. And then how do you document what you're doing in terms of providing services? So if you're providing a packet, you've done, you have somewhere where you provide it and you have your hard copy. If you're doing something on online learning, you got your platform and you got your contact sheets, however you're doing that. And then if you're putting out an activity, just how much time do you think your students, because some of you have those guidelines in your policies on how much hours of contact time you're to have. Some of you do not. So right now we're looking at and so we're at identifying GT students. So we're looking at a waiver on waiving your identification process. Basically, that will suspend your GT process if you would like to, and kind of giving some guidelines on how to do that. So at the moment, this document is with the Office of the Governor. And so once the governor decides if he will offer that waiver or it will be a commissioner's waiver. So those are where we are right now with this document. So hopefully a decision will be made and this will be published for everyone to have a copy of it. So basically as I spoke a couple of weeks ago, hopefully you will be able to suspend your identification process. And then if you're in the selection process, finalizing your selection process, cleaning that up so that you will know where to start from there. And then also looking at how to communicate to your parents on PD. Basically, we have a lot of LEAs and ESCs that still are providing online trainings. We'll provide that, and then we'll talk about some more online opportunities. as we go forth. And then for those who were coding in PIMS, so yes, if you started the process, you should finish it, but only those who should be coded in PIMS who have been identified in providing services. So if you're not providing services to those students that you just completed identifying, no, they should not be coded. But if you have coded them and you're providing them services, yes, continue going forward. And so the last one is, someone asked if the agency is providing a waiver. Actually, that is more a local district decision. So no, the agency is not providing a waiver of professional development if you want to do that as a local district. But as I said, there's a lot of online opportunities for training, and as you can check with your ESC for more information, and then I'll provide some more contacts for them on in their websites. And then I know there are a couple of others who are providing PD out there. So, and we'll look at some other platforms that we can talk about as we go forward. So that's kind of a high level review of the FAQ. And if you have more questions as we go forward, please send it to me, because we're getting ready for probably, I know the first one hasn't gone out, but we're going to get ready to put out the second one. All right. Questions? I know someone has some. Let me get out of this one. My drinks. So, all right. So once the FAQ is approved, it will be on the Special Pops side of the COVID-19 website. So I will let you know when it's up and available. And then I will let you know that it's there. Might put it also a link here. So if you are adding them to your at-home services, yes, you can code them in PIMS. And then Melanie has a question for those who are doing TPSP at home. How are you doing it? Anybody want to throw out a response? Because I can tell some of them, Melanie, what I've heard from another region is they were chunking out pieces of a TPSP project in their student packets as they were sending those home. So, but people in the field, what are you doing?
I'm Melanie. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to share our district, the kindergarten team is already working on their Do Your Part for art. And the way they're doing it, they're pushing it out through Google Classroom, and they're chunking it in pieces and sharing it out with the families and the students.
Thank you. And then also, if you want to look at Region 7, and I'll put the link on there. And I think Donna's out there on the call. Region 7 is doing 2 different tasks. I think it's family together. I can't remember it now. It's family.
Hi, Monica. It's Donna. Family Matters and Texas Gateway, and we're now looking at a middle school one. We Are the World, which ties really in with families as well.
And then they have a lot of resources built out with that also. So that's another resource that you can jump on. I know Dallas ISD uses TPSP as their curriculum, so you might want to check their website to see what they're putting out. Anyone else?
Hey, Monica.
Yes.
We finished our TPSP, or our research for discovery. They were supposed to be done in March, and they turned those results in for us for grades 1 through 10, because then we have capstone after that. And then what we've pushed out now is we've pushed out Andy McNair's Genius Hour, stuff for them so the kids can continue to kind of explore and research and kind of do those 6 Ps, which kind of follow the TPSP process anyway. So we've kind of pushed that out to our teachers for our kids as well for Fridays.
Anybody else? I know Paulina's on the line. Paulina, you want to highlight some of your resources and, you know, GT Awareness Week? I lost it. So kind of wanted to put out some resources for you, just some links of different things. Some of them you may have seen, some you may have come across. But as you look for more activities and more things to do or other resources, here's a select few. And then if you have some more, let's build our repository. And so I don't know if any of you follow the Fordham Institute. And so they have 3 different kind of categories, and they're doing one as a dad school. So here's some different little sections where they're doing resources for these 3 grade bands. And so something you might want to look at is really towards your parents, and so maybe a resource typically for them. But you can find some great things on there and also on their website. And then as we look at some other resources, also looking at social and emotional and our mental health resources, SEN is, I don't know how many of you got to participate in the webinar last week that they had. They have a few more coming up, but you know, some of them are due cost, and then some are free. And then NAGC has put out supporting your gifted child during COVID-19. So they have a list of resources that they're having available. So there's a link here. And then the media, and then they have a specific article on meeting the needs of distant learners, a focus on grace, and that's from the Gifted Support Center. Is another one that I found recently that to look at, and then another link to the target resources for school closures. And so those are some of the things out there that is available. All right. So that leads us to questions and wonderings. Any other good things for the group? Let me make sure I caught everything. And I did answer that one on the webinar.
Monica, I have a question for you. The last
Yes.
meeting we had, you mentioned about possibly having a virtual TPSP in May.
Yes.
Do you have any more update on that?
So, and we got time. So, good question, and that was something I've thrown out. I think also Donna has considered. So, I think the question is, how many of you would like to do that? Can definitely set it up. As you know, my initial thoughts, and so my initial thoughts would be basically actually having 2 TPSPs. One is a virtual fair in May for those who are at home, but then those who are at home you still want them to participate but do not have the technology for that. Well, actually, we could have a second face-to-face one maybe in November, December of next, during the school year. but definitely a virtual one. And then I was thinking of a couple of registrations because I don't know where everyone is in their phases of this. One is basically a registration form for those who want to participate. So it'd be totally voluntary. And then the second, and then we'll know how many we need, but then a second registration for those for mentors. So you got students who are still working to get them some of those supports. And then we will also have a statewide repository or our own database for mentors. And then those who would like to sign up to be judges so that we can do this in short increments. If you're interested in working on this little task force, we'll make a little virtual task, TPSP task force. Shoot me either in the chat or in an email, and we'll set up a time and we will talk about this and get it together as we move forward. So that's, y'all let me know. I know, as I said, there was a thought. I don't want, I know there's a lot going on our plates. And so as we move forward, if this is something you want to do, we can get it done. We've been pushing it out. So
Monica, when is that FAQ going to be published?
once it's approved either by the governor's office, it's through our agency. So once the governor makes that decision, the governor's office on the waiver, that's when it will be published. So hopefully today. It's been over there for a couple of days now. So.
Okay.
And so this will be, so once this is done, I will post the PowerPoint up to date. Hopefully, I don't have another meeting today. So once this is done, I can make sure this is ADA compliant, and then I will post it. And then once the last couple of weeks, the video didn't take as long. So it should be ready to go also, because I think last week I did it in the day. So hopefully all this will be up to date. Excuse me. And then, so you'll have the PowerPoint, the chat log, and then also the video link for those who are wondering as we go through, at least hopefully by the end of the day, if not earlier than that. Definitely the PowerPoint will be earlier than that with you. Other questions, wondering, happy thoughts? You're welcome, Joyce. Thank y'all for joining me for continuing on these GT Tuesdays. And then we'll talk about, as we were earlier this year, 2020, talking about what we want to talk about for next year. So if you have thoughts, what you want to hear about for next year, the topics you want to discuss, or if you need, a couple of more of these on other information bits, we can do that. Just a couple other things just to say. One, we are not in the midst of this, the certification process, we're still working on that. But it's going to be a little slowly moving out a little bit differently, because right now our mindset is how do we support you in COVID, and how do we at our own at-home services. And then as we go forth, how do we work this out? And then how do we look at our new norm after we get to this point of our services and walking back into a whole process where we're not covered up in masks. Hopefully everyone has a mask. I've been working. If some of you don't know, I am a quilter, and so my family has put me into the mask making process. So I've been doing a series of those. But it's been good seeing you. It's good seeing some faces I have not seen, but I know that you've been watching. But you've been live with us today. How you doing, John? And then as we go forward, and if you want more of these, let me know, because we got time, but I know that a lot of you are busy and putting out things. But if you want a repository of just, what are some resources and have opportunity to talk about how you're doing those things. I am free to, we got these twice a month, but, we need another one, a small one, 30 minutes, just to say hello to your buddies in the gifted world. We can do that. So, all right, everyone, have a great day. Thank you. And, it's supposed to be a sunny day, a warm day, not the hot day, but a warm day. So get some sun, get some sunshine, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
Everybody be safe.
All right.
Thank you, Monica.
You're welcome.